happening, you guys? Welcome back to the Let's Go Win podcast, where we are here to help you be happy, healthy, wealthy, get better every single day. And that's certainly going to take place today because the woman I'm going to bring on, she does some pretty amazing stuff, and she talks about a subject that not everybody loves, and I've talked about on the show before, but I'm really curious to get her insights, and her background is phenomenal. Dr. Michelle Rozen, known as the Change Doctor, is a renowned author and consultant specializing in change, motivation, and human potential. Featured on major news outlets like NBC, ABC, CNN, and Fox News, she explores how the mind can excel in various aspects of life. With a background in psychology, she worked with Fortune 100 companies and global brands like Pfizer and Coca-Cola. Her research, published in the Journal of Social Sciences, found that only 6% of people achieve their goals, leading her to establish the 6% Club to help individuals realize their aspirations. Well, before we get into 6%, good morning. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
I couldn't be better. I mean, I get to have you on. We're going to talk about change, and you're literally, the name is the Change Doctor. So I don't know the percentage of people that love change, but I'm guessing it's about that 6% area as well. It's not great in my experience. What are you seeing out there with people? Because change is inevitable, it happens, but yet so often people resist it.
Yeah, change is very hard on the human brain. So the human brain takes about 20% of the overall body energy just to do the things we know how to do. So just the known and familiar. It's a huge amount of energy every time you ask the brain to do something different. So think about it on a personal level, a new way of having lunch, a new way of working out, a new way of treating people, a new way of running your day. Think about it on a corporate leadership level, like new technologies, new ways of doing things, new leadership, AI came, there's so much going on. We're working against our own brain. The human brain basically says, excuse me, can we please not do that? I don't want to spend more energy. So it's literally us wanting to have this amazing life, and having an amazing life requires us to make changes, not just adapt to changes, but also initiate changes. And then there's a human brain that says, are you kidding me? I don't want to do that.
I had no idea 20% just to live, right? You're saying like
just to do what you're used to doing, that's 20% that the brain costs from the overall body energy. So every time you ask your brain to do something different, it's a huge mental effort until you turn it into a routine. So it takes about 30 days to start a new habit in the brain. And during those 30 days, you're working against your own brain. The brain is going to fight it tooth and nail and say, can we please just go back to doing the things we've always done before? It's so much easier for the brain, So if you're used to not going to the gym and saying that you'll go, but never going, and then signing up for the gym, going a few times and dropping it, and your brain is used to that, it's less energy for the brain to just go back to the known and familiar and drop that gym again.
Yeah, and that's always been, people like to be content. They like to be in the know. They like the familiar. It feels good, but I never attributed it to the effort of the brain.
Yep.
The other thing that you mentioned is 30 days. Now, look, I've seen studies from 21 days to 30 days to 66 days. People have all sorts of ideas on what it takes to create a habit, but the most recent research for you is showing 30 days. So is that consecutive, Michelle? Like, I can't miss for 30 days. I got to hit it? Or do I get a day of grace? If I mess one up, am I okay?
So think about it this way. If you like hiking, do you like hiking? I love hiking.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, great. So think about it this way. When you go hiking, you take the beaten path, right? You're not going to go where, like in the forest where there's no beaten path, because, there could be snakes, there could be ticks, it's uncomfortable, right? So a habit in the human brain is like a beaten path. It's a beaten neural pathway of something that you've done over and over and over again. Brain defaults to that. So it takes about 30 days to create one, and you do it by repetition. So let's say that you said that every day you're going to have a salad for lunch, and you're not used to doing that. or you say that you're going to be very present with your kids and you're not going to be on your phone when your kids talk to you. That's a new habit, right? The repetition for 30 days is what creates that beaten path in your brain so that it becomes automated. You don't even think about it. It becomes a part of who you are and how you do things. So when you think about it this way, it's actually, JM, it's not that intimidating. Because let's say that you said, yeah, I'm going to do this new thing and I'll be present with my kids and not look at the phone when they talk to me. Or I'm going to be more present with my team, or I'll save more money, whatever it is. And let's say you started it, you got excited, and then you dropped the ball, like it happens to so many people. Not a big deal. All you need to do is go back to the beginning line and repeat, repeat, repeat. And that repetition, consistency is what creates the beaten path in your brain.
I love that analogy because I can literally visualize. Now, my wife will tell you, I don't take the beaten path. I'm the anomaly that's like, oh yeah, we're going through some crazy shit and snakes are going to be a part of our adventure. She hates that, by the way, and she
I don't
also
blame her.
hates she also hates change.
Yeah,
6% of people,
yeah,
6%
yeah.
only achieve their goals. I loathe that number. I don't like what I just heard, yet that's what we're seeing. Let's talk about how the heck we can, everybody listening, I don't want 94 of 100 of you to miss your goals and only 6 really happy people to do it. How do we change this, Michelle?
Oh, I'm so glad you're asking me, because the research basically surveyed 1,000 people. And I was thinking, let's figure out what happens with their New Year's resolutions from January to June, thinking that I'll see decline over time. And what I basically saw was 94% of them drop their goals by the end of February. This is how alarming this is. And you know what, Jim? We need to see this number. We need to see it so that we stop and we tell ourselves, okay, enough of this. How do I get myself among the 6%? Now, there's a number of things that the 6% did differently. I'll tell you what's the most prevalent thing, the clearest and strongest thing is that when they set their goals, they were very, very specific and granular. Because think about it this way. If I'm telling you, when you're changing your ways, you're working against your own brain, and your brain hates that. And your brain says, I don't want to do that. Can we just go back to our old ways? The more specific you are and granular you are in how you set your goals, the more you're curbing your brain's tendency to say, can we just go back to our old ways? Because I don't want to spend that energy. So there's a big difference between what most people do, which is, yeah, this year I'm going to eat more healthy. I'm going to be ripped. I'm going to be like so much more patient, which is something that the brain said to, I don't know what that means. Literally, I don't know what that means. Can we just go back to what we did before? It's easier. Versus someone that says, I'm going to work out every day from this time to this time. If I can't go, here's my backup plan. Here is my accountability system. Here is what I do if I can't go on a certain day. Here is how I'm tracking my progress. And then the brain goes, okay, I guess we're doing that. I got no choice. And then you repeat that for 30 days. The good news, and there is good news about the 6% club, is that it's actually not that complicated. There's no reason for the 94% to drop whatever they drop. You just need to know how, and nobody ever teaches that. So, it's not like you go to school and you learn that at school, because your teachers don't know how to do that either.
Yeah, and anybody that goes to the gym, right? By the time this episode drops, you're right in your resolution time, guys. So one of the things Michelle clearly said is, let's get specific. I would
Yes.
also say, my research, write it down, share it with an
Yep.
accountability buddy
Yep.
and your bathroom mirror so you see it every day, because
Yes.
life's going to happen, right? I mean, the
Yes.
whole idea to going back to comfort is, well, I just got my ass kicked by whatever. I got a
Yep.
cold, my dog died, whatever happened. Life is going
Yep.
to happen.
Yep.
And that's what so often derails us is, well, I was doing so well and then life happened.
Yes.
So what what do you think about writing it down, putting it up there, having an
Oh, yeah.
accountability partner?
Yeah. Not only writing it down, but also use technology for your advantage. People think of technology in the sense of goals as a distraction, but actually, if you said that you were going to do something, and I love the writing it down, I think it's extremely helpful. After you wrote it down, make sure that it's extremely visible to you. So if you said you're going to do something at a certain time, make sure that at that time for 30 days, your phone is sending you a pop-up reminder. There's a reminder on your computer. Your watch is going like, go to the gym, make the sales call, whatever it is that you need to do at that time, so that you're using every means that you have in order to make sure that you do the things you need to do. I think, JM, that people rely way too heavily on willpower, and willpower is a very flimsy thing. Do not rely on willpower. Instead of willpower, manipulate your environment, so that you do the thing you need to do. So if you have pop-up reminders, if you have a big note, on your fridge or on your desk, if you decided that you're going to the gym and you have your gym clothes by your bed, you stumble on them first thing in the morning. Whatever you can do to manipulate your environment, guys, don't rely on your willpower. The willpower is a very flimsy thing. You get excited in the morning, you say you're going to do all those things. By the evening, it's gone, and you need to set yourself up for success by manipulating your environment.
Yeah, willpower is fleeting.
Yep.
Discipline equals freedom. We all know, or I think most people know that. Yet, how do we reward ourselves? How do we incentivize ourselves to say, okay, my willpower is fleeting, yet I like rewards? And is there a specific system? So for 30 days, if I'm trying to change this habit and I got 7 down, Michelle, do I celebrate at that time? Do I say, hey, pat on the back, great job, to keep myself inspired to go on? Because again, motivation, I've heard people say, look, it's fleeting. It's not going to be there every single day. How do we combat these things? Because again, that, I guess that is why 94% aren't hitting it, because there's so much working against us.
Yeah. But then again, it's a lot of times people are not motivated also because they focus on the things that they don't really care about that much. So there's a question, there's a seemingly simple question that everybody needs to ask themselves. And that question is, what really matters the most to me? Not to my spouse, not to my parents, not because I want to keep up with other people. What do I really want? And I have a scaling system for that. I call it the 0 to 10 rule. And the 0 to 10 rule basically means you scale from 0 to 10, how important something is at any given time. The 0 to 10 rule is helpful in two ways. Number one, to answer how important something is for you. So I have times, JM, that if you ask me, Michelle, how important is it for you to go to the gym right now? I'll tell you, honestly, right now, it's a 6 because I'm writing my next book and I'm busy, and that's my 10 right now. Don't expect to be motivated on things that are not as important to you. Ask yourself what is really important for you, scale that, and whatever's your 10, believe me, you will find the energy to focus on that. A lot of people spend an entire lifetime focusing on, their 5s and 6, and they don't even ask themselves, what's the most important thing for me? There's another great use for the 0 to 10 rule, which is managing your time when you're working through your goals, because a lot of times people spend their entire day focusing on things that don't matter. Meanwhile, they're not pushing their goals. So they're focusing on the 2s and 3s. And meanwhile, they're not doing their 9s and 10s, which are the actions that actually push them towards their goals.
Yeah, and you see that in work all the time, right?
Yes.
The most pressing things, i.e., the needle movers, whatever that may be. You know what? I'm going to do some email, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do my email. That's the first thing I'm going to do, which honestly is somebody else's task list for you. It's not
Yeah.
even what you need to be doing yet. Again, that's comfortable. That's easy, I guess.
Yeah.
Or it's certainly habitual.
It's lack of focus. I work with leaders all the time. And one of the things that happens to people, because life is very busy, we all get very busy. And so what happens to leaders and teams and to people in their personal lives too, is that we sort of glorify being busy. You ask someone, they're going to tell you, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. I don't care that you're busy. The question is not if you're busy. The question is busy doing what? And that's important for people in their lives and also in business. And so when you use the 0 to 10 rule, and I've seen leaders using that all the time, and the leader says to the team, guys, why are we spending our time on the 2s and 3s? Meanwhile, we didn't get our 9s and 10s done. It's a very simple methodology to focus on what matters the most at any given time, because the idea that pursuing your goals means that you become the Energizer Bunny and you do it all is a huge mistake. You cannot do it all. There's no humanly possible way to do it all. The question is, if you can't do it all, what are you focusing your time and energy on? Are you spending an entire lifetime or an entire day or a work day, a personal day on the 2s and 3s? Or are you getting your 9s and 10s done?
Yeah, taking that time. And I love how you said within teams, let's be very vocal on what is our 9s and 10s so that we
Yes.
can hold each other accountable to doing that. You mentioned not being able to get it all done. And this is where I feel often people with the greatest of goals or the aspirations, and they put all these goals down, but you already said, look, you don't have enough time to get it all done. For those listening, whether they just had set their goals for the year, but maybe there's too damn many. And Michelle, it's like I have 100 goals written down. When you said the 0 to 10 rule, I'm going, so is it 10 goals that I should actually have? And it's literally 1, 2, 3 to 10? Or what would be your suggestion? Because often I see this where it's a book full of goals, but how the hell are you going to get all that done? Yeah, maybe you haphazardly get one done, but that's just too much.
JM, this is the most classical mistake to make in achieving your goals, is trying to achieve too many goals. Considering the mental effort that it takes to change your ways and that it takes 30 days to start a new habit, you go one at a time, not 2, not 3, definitely not 10. So what happens to people is they set New Year's resolutions. They're like, oh my gosh, this will be an amazing year. I'm going to do this and this and this and that. And then they drop everything, everything. It's overwhelming because they don't think enough about the mental effort that it takes to actually change your ways and how much you're working against your own brain. So the way to go about it is to pick one thing that is a 10 for you, okay, for 30 days. After 30 days, you can pick another thing that is a 10 for you for 30 days. So do not underestimate the mental effort that comes with changing your ways, and you take it one at a time. Now, think about it this way. If you pick one goal at a time and you work on it consistently for 30 days, at the end of the year, you've changed your ways or accomplished your goals 12 times over. 12 things you did this year. And you know what? Maybe one of the months didn't work out. You know what? Maybe even 2. You still pushed 10 things successfully in your business or life. The accumulating effect, the domino effect of this on businesses and lives is incredible. Isn't that so much better than pursuing 10 things at the same time and dropping all 10 of them?
I think it's remarkable. And I'm going to fall on the sword for a moment because I've helped people set goals for years. This is the first time that I've ever even considered what you just said, which is, look, in January, here's your one goal. That's it.
Yep.
Everything else is going to be your normal habit, but this is my one thing.
Yep.
I have to say, I've never, this is new for sure.
Yep.
So if I'm forecasting for 2024 and 12 potential goals, would you write them all out and then pick that one and say, all right, January, here you go. I'm going to, I don't know, eat a salad every day. I think you had said earlier, or I'm going to work out every single day in January. Would you write all 12 out, or would you literally say, all right, it's December. What's my one goal for January?
You can write them all out. It's fine. But once you write them, you need to give them a number between 0 and 10. And then if you have a few 10s, you can pick one, but they're not all 10. Some of your goals are 6 and some are 8. And the scaling system, you know, just to understand where the 0 to 10 came from. The 0 to 10 rule, originally, I developed it when I was a PhD student and a full-time working mom. So full-time student, full-time working mom of 3 very young kids, and I just didn't have enough time.
Mm.
And originally, this tool came from the world of psychology, and we used it. They were teaching us to use it for measuring depression, because when somebody's depressed, they don't really know if they feel better today compared to yesterday. But if you use that scaling system, yesterday was a 2 and today is a 3, let's see how we can get you to a 4 or 5. So it gives you that clarity. And I took that tool and I borrowed it from the world of depression to the world of prioritizing. And it helped me very much back at the time to figure out where to put my time, because there was just no way for me to do it all. And over the years, I've used it with leaders around the world, and I saw how much it changes in goal setting, to focus on what matters the most. First of all, when you pick your goal, and then when you manage your day and time. So when you start your year, you can write as many goals as you want, but at the end of the day, once you give them a number, and you know what, JM, the number comes from your gut. When you look at it, there's no need for so many words. People use so many words, when they talk about their goals or when they talk about priorities. Also in teams, leaders talk in so many words to the team to explain what matters the most. No need for so many words. All you need to say is, guys, this is a 10, this is an 8. What do you think we should be doing right now? Obviously the 10. Done. End of discussion. There's no need for a long email. And the mental clarity is very helpful because you cut through the noise. So you can write as many goals as you want, and then you pick a 10 and you focus only on 110 for 30 days.
I can't wait for my wife to listen to this, and here's why.
Okay.
In my first book, I wrote on there's no such thing as priorities. It didn't exist. The word itself did not exist. Priority, there's singular.
Yep.
Multitasking is something that most, and I'm going to generalize for a moment, most females, especially my wife, prides herself on multitasking. And I told her it's horseshit. I'm like, look, if you have 100% towards one thing, you're going to get that done versus 10% towards 10 things. And that's what you really just gave permission to say, look, I was a mom getting my doctorate. I'm doing all of this, the PhD during raising 3 kids. There was no such thing as priorities. There was this one priority. There was this one thing at the one time. You've really simplified everything. It feels good. I have to say, it's like I'm getting some affirmations like, hey, JM, you're not completely nuts.
No.
Why is multitasking this badge of honor, especially for females, and especially in this world that we live in? I feel like you said we glorify being busy. I think it's the same thing for multitasking. This has become a thing. Like, yeah, I doing 3,000 things today, but what did you do well?
What did you do that really mattered? And you don't owe anybody an explanation in terms of what matters to you. What my 10 is my 10. I can say at any given time, I'll give you an example. My older kids were home, and my 10, I was doing different things. And then my kid said, come and sit with us, Mom. And I said, hold on, this is a 10 right now. I'm going to drop whatever I'm doing, and this is my 10 right now. So the 10 is something very subjective. It's the 10 to you. The problem is that we are so busy in modern life that we are reactive instead of proactive. That means that people in their own lives, as much as leaders that run companies, don't do the most important thing, which is to pause and think. We don't pause to think. And so because you don't pause to think, you just react. And when you react, you get busy and focus on things that don't matter so much. If you think about it in retrospect, you would say, I could actually run this whole day completely differently, but you're reactive instead of proactive. So if there's anything that people need to do at the beginning of the year, is to pause and think and focus. It takes mental effort to pick the most important thing. It takes mental effort to stick to it. It takes mental effort to pause and reflect and decide to be proactive instead of reactive in both business and life.
I want everybody to stop for a second, since we're talking about pausing. I love what you just gave the example. So your kids are home. I'm picturing Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I'm picturing you're cleaning up the kitchen, and one of your kids says, Mom, come be with us.
Yeah.
And then I fast forward to not you, but being on your deathbed and saying, gosh, I really wish I got those dishes done. Or You know what? I'm so freaking glad I spent time with my kids because maybe that's the
Yep.
last time that I get the a chance to do that. And this is the perspective I want everybody to hear because there is a last time. Like I lost my dad a year and a half ago. I
I'm
had
sorry.
a last time with him and I didn't know it. But
Yeah.
those freaking dishes weren't important, but spending time
Yes.
with him was.
Yes. Yes. And that's a question we always need to ask ourselves. What's a 10 right now?
Mm.
It changes businesses because if you, a lot of people hide behind, emails and lists and things that are twos and threes. Meanwhile, they're not making the call to the client. They're not getting the most important things done. Everybody has things on their list of things to do that are a 10 that they're pushing off. And I can tell you for me, my kids were always my 10 and I've, worked and studied and my days were crazy, but you know what? Maybe they didn't have matching socks part of the time, but I did know who their friends are and what's going on in their lives. And I did find the time to be very involved because that was my 10. I think it gives people a very clear sense of what matters the most when you pause and ask yourself this question. And what you may find that you're answering to yourself may be very interesting and very different um, in the way it impacts your day and the decisions that you make.
Hmm. So you mentioned task lists, and we all have them, right? I pride myself on having the to-do list, which I
Mhm.
may or may not get to. It's not
Uh-huh.
all those three things to really get granular.
No, three is good. I do the same thing, JM. I have days that I'm like, I'm so not focused today. This is not a good day. I don't feel well, or I'm jet lagged, or whatever. And it's usually around the three things that I would say, okay, what are my, basically, we're doing the same thing. I'm saying, what are my tens today? And I
Mm.
make, I don't like long, overwhelming to-do lists because my problem with those lists is that you're going to lose, sight of what the tens are. So a lot of times, even if I write things down and the list is long, I create, a mini list or a highlight, or I create a small square. And typically it would be three things that I would say, even if the world goes upside down, those tens are getting done today. The rest of it, I don't know, and some days it's normal to be productive some days and not to be productive other days. But in both business and life, if you push your tens forward every day, think about the accumulating effect over time. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. You're building such momentum because
Yeah.
you're actually getting that one thing for the month, that 110. You're so much further ahead. You said, look, if you get 12 done in a year, wow.
Wow. What a change.
Like
What a year. What
versus
an
trying to
accumulating effect.
manage all of them
Yeah.
simultaneously. You can't do it.
No, there's no way. There's no way that your brain would be able to process that much change. And JM, we started from talking about change is hard. People don't like it. I think people don't like it and feel very intimidated by it because they're lacking the tools on how to manage it. And when you actually understand how change works in the human brain, and when you actually have the tools to understand what the 6% do differently, it's not that complicated. It becomes complicated and because people don't know how to do it. And that's a shame. There's no reason not to get in the 6% club.
Well, and not to go down the education reform path, but it's because it's not being taught. You just said
Yep.
people don't know how to do it. This is not taught.
No.
You literally got your PhD. You went all the way through. You are a doctor. No one taught you this,
Nope.
yet you have studied, continued. Now you're writing. How can we get this out? Is it literally what you're doing, writing books, getting on podcasts, trying to let people know there's a different way, there's a better way of doing it, and let's not fear change, rather we can embrace it by simplifying. That's the main thing I've taken away so far. I'm like,
Yeah.
God, Michelle just simplified my life. This is fantastic.
So I've been talking, giving keynotes, and working with Fortune 500, Fortune 100 leaders for a long time. And when the research came out, I said, there is no way we're keeping it 6%. We have to get more and more people in that club. I have to share the things that I know. And JM, yes, I got a PhD and I did a lot of research. I did a lot of studying, but it's also a lot of things I had to craft over time from my own life, from my work with leaders, to see what works and what doesn't work. And my goal is to take everything that I know from research, from academics, from life, from working with the leaders that I've worked with for over a decade, and I want to share it with everyone. And that's the reason why I wrote the 6% Club that will be out in May this year. And that's the reason why I established the 6% Club. It's a portal of courses for people to be able to have access to that information, not just to the leaders that I work with, but literally for everyone. There is a tremendous amount of pain in the world today with people that want certain things for themselves and they can't figure out how to get there. And social media makes it worse because it seems that everybody else is getting there, but you're not getting there, which is not true. 94% of the people don't. So let's share that knowledge, support each other through the process, and get on with a better life, better business, better everything. Because when you know how to get to the goals that you have for yourself, you get more and more ambitious every time also, James. It's like you start with the small things, the salad for lunch, being present with your kids. And then you're like, it works. I can do this. So let's pick another goal. And then you get more ambitious. You pick a bigger goal. You get more ambitious. You pick a bigger goal. And then there's the accumulating effect. Why not? Why not live to the fullest? Why not thrive in business, thrive in life?
Well, and again, you simplified it. So that's the why. Why not? Because okay, now I'm not overwhelmed. Now I truly have a system that I
Yep,
can go attack. You mentioned the comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy, right?
of
And this,
course.
it is so fascinating, the world we live in today. I think of my kids often as they see their buddies living this perfect life, and it's just not true. Look,
Yep.
that's not life, none for anyone. This is this curated way of living on social media, which I'm not poo-pooing. That's fine. Do you, but don't compare yourself to it. What else about the 6% Club? You have the book, which congratulations, coming out in May. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
Um, what else are you seeing other than really being able to prioritize, to simplify, to really hone in? What else are you seeing within the 6% that people are doing so well? Because again, this is a very select group, but the goal is to expand it. I hope your next book is the 46% Club. That would be awesome.
I would love
But yeah, what are the other attributes or things that these 6%ers are doing that we can really apply today?
So resilience and confidence are very, very important. And we've heard the word resilience left and right in recent years. But the truth of the matter is that resilience is also now very complicated, because when you know what your goals are and you know where you are going in business and life, the little things that happen along the way, they're not as important to you. But what happens to people a lot of times is that they're not clear on where they are going because they never pause to ask themselves, what do I really want? What is a 10 for me right now? And so, you can live without goals. It's like a ship that goes in the ocean, ending up somewhere. It's going. But when you actually navigate, when you actually take control, when you know what your goals are and you get excited about them and you say, this is my 10 right now, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. I have the tools. I know how to do it. I know what I want. Even the comparison you spoke about before, where people compare themselves to other people on social media or whatever obstacles they come across, it's not as impactful as it is on people that have no idea, or they have a vague idea in terms of where they're going in life or in business and what their goals are.
Your analogy or the picture that you painted with the boat, I just imagine somebody in the Atlantic Ocean, no directions. This is what people are doing for the most part. They're not clear on their destination.
Yep.
And Simon Sinek obviously wrote a great book called Start With Why. And that's really
Yes.
what I'm hearing is like, slow down,
Yep.
figure out where the hell you're going, so
Yes.
then you can speed up. Now we can put the throttle down or the boat like all the way down so that we can get to the destination in those 30 days versus being somewhat rudderless. And okay, eventually I wanted to go to Ireland and shit, man, I ended up down in the Caribbean, which, maybe that's, I wanted to go to Ireland though. I really wanted to see those green fields, but I ended up, on the beach because I didn't put in the specific, I didn't spend the time
Yeah.
to speed up.
And it doesn't have to be something grandiose. Sometimes people come to me and they say, it's very hard for me to think about my life goals. And I say, I don't know what you're saying, life goals. I mean, the brain gets overwhelmed. Think about something simple. You're starting for 30 days. Say to yourself, I want to eat a different kind of lunch. I want to be more productive during my workday. I want to read a book every week. It doesn't matter what you pick. Nobody's judging you. It can be super small. And you know what? It's a good idea to start with something super simple so that you gain that success, so that you see that it works. Because let me tell you something, if you're consistent for 30 days, repeating the same thing in a granular way, it does work. When you see that it works, you can pick something else and then pick something else. So it's a very common mistake to think that you need to come up with something, help the world and make the world a better, but which is a great goal. But first of all, start with building your habits one after one after one. Then your goals become bigger. Then you can pick a bigger goal. And then you'll be so used to the system of what I call riding the bikes of change that you'll actually make it happen versus starting really big when you didn't even build a habit. Start small.
I think I know your answer, but I'm really curious. 5-year goals, your
Yes.
thoughts on it. And the reason I say this, I've had in my professional career 4 different sections of 5-year goals. And by the way, guys, I was wrong every 5 years on my goals. Not even close, by the way. 3 out of the 4 much further than I expected, if we're just monetarily speaking, if we're using that. And 1, I was behind, quote unquote.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on because we're told, this is one thing we are told is, hey, what's your short-term goal, your 1-year goal, your 5-year goal? What are your thoughts on that? Is it all just, is it too much for the brain to really wrap around?
I think it's very overwhelming. If you ask me, I mean, when you think about goals, you think in very granular and specific terms, right? So I can't even tell you what my 5-year goals. I can tell you who I want to be. I can tell you how I want to feel. I can tell you how I want to live. Those are not goals. That's something else. I'm a big fan of envisioning who you want to become and living that reality from day one. So if you're saying to yourself, I want to become this kind of person, and you're living becoming that reality, those are not goals. That's envisioning, your future. It's an amazing tool, but let's not confuse that with goals. Goals are very specific and granular. And so you can envision the kind of person that you want to be in 5 years, but then you got to go back and break it down to very specific and granular goals. What am I doing this month in order to push this forward? And so it becomes something that is more manageable rather than something grandiose. Let's not overwhelm ourselves.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you've given a lot of permission to people to de-stress. Let's
Yep.
let's give yourself a little break. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're going to accomplish more.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to speed up by slowing down. I love this concept.
Yep.
I have so many different questions and I don't know where I'm going with this. So here's what I'm going to say. I
Okay.
know there's a question I don't know enough to ask you right now, and I want you to share. JM, you should have known enough to ask this. What is it that I'm missing that you want to make sure to get to the audience? Because literally, I have questions all over the map, and I'm like, you know what? I bet you Michelle has a better idea of where we should go. What's the one thing I should have known enough to ask you?
The thing that we didn't talk about that I want to highlight for people is how much your brain is playing tricks on you so that you don't make any changes, and how aware you need to be of that. And, I like presenting it this way, JM. I like saying your brain has a deal to offer you, and the deal is not good. And the brain says, listen, I want to conserve energy. I want to stay on the 20%. I don't want to work so hard. Life is hard anyway. How about we strike a deal and you just keep doing the same things you were always doing for the rest of your life? And I'll conserve energy. You'll be miserable. I don't care about that. And that's our deal. And I can tell you, JM, that 94% of the people in the world don't read the fine print and sign the deal. And they're missing out. At the end of the day, if you don't overwhelm yourself and you pick one way to make your life better, one way to push forward towards the person you want to become, the vision you have for your future, every 30 days, I am telling you, when you get to the 5-year mark or the 3-year mark or the 1-year mark, it's going to have such impact on your life. And you know what? You'll also feel happier, because when you feel that you have a system and you're accumulating success, you don't care anymore about the other person or social media. You don't care anymore if you have obstacles along the way, because you know where you're going and you know that you can do it and that it's not so complicated and overwhelming. Isn't that amazing?
It really is amazing because it is interesting who's in control of this brain. And yet, like you said, it's, you know what, Jan, let's go ahead and sleep in today. You don't need to work out. Why we don't need to do that.
Yep.
But it is really interesting that if we just try to simplify it and say, hey, look, we're going to get out of bed today because that's what we committed to. And you're going to feel better about it. But it's the only thing. We're not putting 99 other things on the plate. We're
Yep.
just going to go do this workout. I'm telling you, Michelle, I've never in all my years of goal setting, this is the first. So I have a new system I'm going to try in 2024. What do I have to lose?
Nothing, only to gain.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, Michelle? Because clearly the 6% club, I think you said, was coming out in May. So I want people to go get that. But
Yep.
you have so much knowledge to give. Where can they find the change doctor and have some more Michelle in their life?
6% that club is where all the information is. Come and join. It's an amazing opportunity for everyone to do something different. I don't believe in complicated things. I think that doing this is simpler than everybody thinks, and that the impact is going to be tremendous. And I'm excited to share it with everyone. I've seen the impact on leaders and big corporations over time. I think everybody should know how to get among the 6%. Let's make this club super big.
Yeah. My goal is 46%. Let's get there and then we'll
I'm
double
with you.
that. Let's flip it on its head.
I love that.
Thank you so much for coming on. Again, we talk about change frequently. In fact,
Yep.
my third book I wrote called Upgrade because people loathe the word change. And I was like,
Yes.
let's upgrade yourselves.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is I really am tricking my mind. That was the whole idea. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you simplified so much for me. This is fantastic. This is why I do this
Love it.
show, because I get so much out of it. But
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing.
I'm so glad to be here, JM. Thank you for having me.
Guys, 6% is unacceptable. We are going to kick its ass, and we're going to do it by simplifying. I can't tell you how simple this conversation was, yet profound. It was profoundly simple. This whole idea of goals, taking one at a time for 30 days, whether you are in the midst of doing your goals now and you're feeling overwhelmed, give yourself permission to stop, get your why clear, and let's go tackle this 6%. You deserve it. You absolutely have the ability and you deserve it. Share this with someone you know and love, because we're all wanting to get to that 6%, and we want that number to change. Until next time, you guys, remember your mindset matters. I appreciate you all so very much. We'll talk to you soon.